Welcome everybody, and we're back in doing our coaching Q&A. I'm delighted to introduce you to Helen Money, who is our nutritionist, has worked with us for 7 years or so, quite a while, so she's got used to our peculiarities and triathlete peculiarities and needs and everything else. And seeing as nutrition has basically been one of the kind of standout topics of conversations that everyone asks whenever we do one of these Q&As, I felt it was worth inviting Helen over, and for the whole of the month of November we'll be talking to you about various aspects of nutrition. So we're going to start off this week with sort of diet, day-to-day diet, then we move on to more fueling-based conversations, then we look at differences within different genders, and finally we'll wrap up with, I suppose, everything else which might come under the bracket of nutrition, so things which don't quite get categorised in that area. But yeah, welcome to Helen for starting off, and today we're talking about food and then fuel. So a clear distinction between pre-race or racing and kind of what you take on board when you're racing or training, and I'm actually now looking into day-to-day diet. So if you've got any questions looking into that slant rather than the slant of kind of what gel, how many gels do I need and everything else. So I guess the first question has to be why are we talking about it in that order?
I think it is a really good order to talk about it, food then fuel. I think what we see with triathletes is they have a very heavy training schedule, as you're aware. Also, most of them also have very demanding full-time jobs, so don't have much time. And what we tend to see quite frequently is that there's an over-reliance on functional sports nutrition and not thinking about the base diet. Whereas the base diet, so the food, then you put in the fuel, is really, really important for a number of reasons. In particular, we need to remember, first of all, triathletes are actually humans, and we need to think about the well-being and the immune system, so we need a good base diet to support ongoing well-being. But then secondly, within sports nutrition, it's the vitamins and minerals that we get in food that are also used in energy metabolism, and also muscle contraction. So if they're not there in the base diet, once then the sports nutrition of the macros, the carbs, the protein, the fat get put in, they won't be used as effectively if there's not a good solid base diet.
So almost the gels you buy, the drinks, everything, there's loads of brands out there offering it, they're absolutely pointless, well not absolutely pointless, but they're very much the pointless end if you haven't sorted out what you're doing on a day-to-day basis.
They won't be as effective. And many of them do actually include some of the energy-creating nutrients. If you have a look on the back, often they will list things like B vitamins, for example, and some of the energy drinks will have the muscle contraction electrolytes in. But it's also, I would always be urging any athlete to make sure they're getting these vitamins and minerals in their base diet.
So looking into, I suppose, base diet, what would you say is base diet? What's the fundamentals then if we're looking into base diet? What's important for a triathlete?
So first of all, that they're eating regularly, it's planned and structured. To me, as a nutritionist, and when I work with athletes, I feel that they should be putting as much effort into the planning of their diet as they are the planning of their training, which is whereas what I see quite commonly is a lot of effort going into thinking, when am I going to fit this training session in, and actually the eating being just happening rather than having been planned together with the training session. So a good base diet would be basically 3 good meals, a couple of snacks, then you add in your sports nutrition, your pre-training nutrition, your recovery nutrition, potentially some during, and then potentially a protein snack before bed as well.
So we're looking at this, I guess, the things we've been brought up with, there's nothing rocket science about having breakfast, lunch, dinner. Making sure you're building that up around your training, so it's a training nutrition plan rather than just a training plan and just a nutrition plan.
Exactly.
So in terms of base diet then, in terms of, I guess, macronutrients is what people read about, and you can start counting those and all sorts of other things. I mean, what are we looking at? You did a really nice blog recently in terms of actual quantities, but give us a rough guideline on what that could.
Of quantities.
Yeah, what should we be looking at as triathletes, as both working crazy jobs but also trying to fit in training as well?
So in that blog I did provide guidance that was, which I use, the base of my guidance I use from what the International Olympic Committee put out. And obviously it will depend on phase of training, whether you're, at the moment, expect most triathletes to be trained to be much lower compared to this till next April, May. So obviously that has to vary through the year depending on the intensity of training, but the guidance for endurance athletes with carbohydrates for 1 to 3 hours of endurance exercise a day, which generally most
There's 2 sessions a week,
do.
isn't it, for the weekdays, really?
Yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. It's 6 to 10 grams of carbohydrate per kilogram of body weight a day, and then that goes up to as high as 12 grams if you've got on your long ride day, for example, when you could be. Yeah.
So you're potentially doubling almost come the weekend in terms of carbohydrate intake anyway. And that's just day-to-day diet, I guess. We're not even talking about kind of what you need to do on top of with fueling and everything else. This is just day-to-day diet for people.
No, fueling can be included in that. That is total intake for the day. And I think what's really important is that, so where the guidance that I included in that blog is an average over the week, that is probably 5-6 years ago where we were with sports nutrition, we were averaging over the week. But I think what's really important now, and has become more apparent, is that people actually have a greater variety day to day. So on rest day, they bring those carbs right down. They're giving the pancreas a break from releasing all the insulin, etc. But they bring carbs right back down to actually quite a low level, near 150 grams, 200 grams a day. Whereas on a high training day, I certainly write plans for triathletes up at as much as 500-600 grams of carbohydrate a day. So we need to so an example, 500 grams of carbohydrate a day, that would be about 1.25 of a pack of pasta.
Nice.
I'm not recommending they do it all through pasta, and certainly not in one go, but that's sort of the difference.
Give me an idea what that looks like.
Yeah.
And that's what, 10 grams for a 60 kilogram athlete?
Yeah.
That's quite
Exactly, which is quite a large athlete.
So I guess, I mean, you're changing the carbohydrates based on your daily needs, should we say, and then your proteins and your fats, how do they just set something like that?
So yes, certainly basically you need to think of the carbohydrate as the petrol, the fuel. You alter that with how much energy fuel you're going to be using that day. What I commonly see in triathletes when I first started working with them is this overspend of calories on protein and not enough on carbohydrate. Protein requirements will vary slightly and be driven very much by which phase of training you're in. So we would spend a few more calories on protein during the build phase, which is more about strengthening, rather than the endurance phase where it's more about the carbohydrates. So again, it all depends on the phase of training, but the guidance is for well-being, so just for
living.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
For someone that isn't a triathlete, it's 0.8 grams of carbohydrate per kilogram of body weight.
No, carbohydrate, protein.
Sorry, protein.
Yeah.
Sorry, protein. 0.8 grams of protein. For sports nutrition, that goes up between 1.2 and 1.6, again, depending where you are in your phase of training and what particular training sessions you're doing that day. Which is another point that from when I work with triathletes, they don't know why they're doing a training session, and I always really encourage them to ask their coach, what's the point? Why am I doing this training session? What am I meant to be getting out of this training session? So they can understand whether it's one that they need to completely fuel because it's high intensity with the carbohydrate, how much protein they need to be recovering that with. If it's more of a focus on strengthening, we need slightly more protein going in afterwards.
And I guess with that's a great point as well. Why are athletes doing this session? And I think with athletes that goes across the board, not just a nutritional side of things, but also where does this fit into my overall training plan?
Yeah.
And that's really important. But I like the way you put it in, saying, well, actually, you can then take some responsibility on this is a build phase thing. I need to be thinking about what protein requirements I need for the day now. And it's not just straight afterwards smashing a protein shake, it's the day.
Yes, exactly.
To deal with it.
It's when we're looking to for muscle hypertrophy, recommendations are in general 5 portions of 20 grams of protein a day distributed through the day. So basically, if you're having 3 meals of a palm-sized portion of protein with each, some protein immediately after training, which is a really important time, and then some protein such as a glass of milk or unless you want to go to supplement route, but a glass of milk or some yogurt just before bed, that's an important time as well, because that's when the muscles are, again, repairing and healing.
So, are we talking now about absorption rates of protein? Is that why you need to do that?
Yes.
So it just doesn't, you can't take on board that much more, so it has to be.
Mm-hmm.
If you take on too much protein, which you mentioned earlier, a lot of athletes end up having too much, what happens then?
There is, obviously, you're taking on calories, so there's a great issue, but a lot of it will be just excreted from the body. So, and protein is the most expensive nutrient there is, so let's not waste it. But so yeah, it's little and often. Immediately after training, the guidance is between 20 and 50 grams of protein. So it's a faster absorption rate immediately after training. That the graph of how efficient it is in muscle hypertrophy, it's very sharp from having no protein to 20 grams, so how effective it is at muscle hypertrophy. Then between 20 and 50, it's a very, very slight increase.
Yeah.
So the difference is, if I was working, so I, as you know, I cover all sports, if I was working with a power lifter or a bodybuilder, it would go top end 50. But for triathlete, again, depending where they are in the phase of their training, you're spending a lot more calories and you don't particularly, it's more, after a normal triathlon training session, it'd be more between 20 and 30 grams.
Yeah.
Occasionally you might need to go higher depending on how intense that training session's been. But yes, your original question was that needs to be distributed through the day, not all eaten in one go.
Because otherwise it just is a waste. And as you say,
yeah.
You're literally throwing it down the drain. Try not to say a few big words in that one, but yeah, you literally get rid of it. So you then still have to have another dose of it again, so you just wasted.
Yeah.
And then talking about obviously macros, so fats is the last big food group in there, and obviously that kind of comes in as well.
In the diet we're talking about here, high carb.
We're going to ignore keto conversation.
So for this conversation, not bringing keto into the discussion, we're looking at well-being levels of fat. So generally it's a gram per kilogram of body weight. Obviously, the more you're training, you will be using a bit more fat in that, but you've got more calories to spend it on. When you do the calculations, generally if you put the right, if when I do my calculations, if I fuel someone with a carbohydrate, given them enough protein, the fat just does tend to work out for the well-being amount, which for women is 70 grams, men is 90 grams.
So around about that kilogram per body weight.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. So I have so many questions, but I'm going to wait and see if some get picked up by some of the other ones. What about macros? Obviously, just spoken about main food groups, fats, proteins, and carbohydrates, but we've got these other bits and pieces as well.
They are, which is the thing in sports nutrition that gets really underwritten about and really under-considered. But going back to one of my original comments, that we need those there for when we put the macros in, that the macros are used efficiently and effectively. So if we look at sports nutrition, there's three main things we need to consider. There's energy metabolism, muscle contraction, and obviously the immune system. Mainly because no one performs well on a chest infection or a cough. So if we look at energy metabolism, the nutrients particularly important for that are a number of the B vitamins, magnesium, zinc, iron and chromium. So foods that, there's lots of ways you can do it, but the easiest way really, foods that tick all those boxes are whole grains, nuts, seeds and green leaf vegetables. Not so suitable for people with IBS, but I know later in the month we're talking about other issues that might come up. But for the general triathlete population, having those four foods, which was whole grains, nuts, seeds, and green leafy vegetables, I'd very much be encouraging people to have those in their diet every day. So, as I say, they're really important for energy metabolism, and also bearing in mind that B vitamins are water soluble, so they're not stored like fat soluble vitamins, so we need them every day.
Okay.
So that's energy metabolism, but then if we think about muscle contraction, again particularly important are B vitamins, calcium, potassium, sodium and magnesium. So again, we need those in the base diet so the muscle contracts when we want it to. An example there of how we can get more, triathletes can get more of those nutrients in their diet is again potentially moving away from sports functional foods like a protein shake after training. I know that's convenient, and if you just want to keep a powder in your sports bag so it's there for immediately after your training, that's fine. But we know that milk is equally as effective. So by using milk or yogurt immediately after training, which has the protein in it, a pint of milk provides you with 20 grams of protein, 200 grams of yogurt. Not only does that tick the box for the protein, it's also high in leucine, which is an amino acid that's particularly important for muscle build. But also, you've ticked your calcium requirement for the day as well. A pint of milk will give you your full day's calcium requirement. So again, that's a way of using food rather than a sports product, which do have their place, but we can get, rather than just ticking the protein box, but also ticking some of our vitamin and mineral requirements. And then if I can, carry on with this question, the other area is the immune system. So when, after intense training, the body, or during intense training, the body releases stress hormones, which compromise the immune system. And as I said, people don't perform well when they're not well, and also it causes inflammation in the body, which isn't good either. So if we look at the micronutrients that are important for the immune system, it's very much fruit and veg based, so it's vitamin A, C, D, E, selenium, iron and zinc, which again just need to be in the diet. So going back to the first question, food then fuel, that's why food is so important, because it's not just about eating lots of
grams of carbohydrates per hour,
yeah.
Which is where most of the time, especially athletes, but endurance athletes are thinking, I need this per hour, I need this many calories per hour.
Yes.
It's not like that at all, it's about building up a robust athlete.
But it means that if you've had that good base diet with those nutrients included in the meals, that you can then, when you're about to train, just focus on the sports nutrition, put the carbs in.
Yeah. I guess if you look at this, we're all talking about human performance, and we're talking right now about the human element of the performance. The performance is when we start talking about the fueling side afterwards, but we're making sure we've got a robust human who can perform.
Exactly.
Which is, I suppose, the important part.
Yeah.
I remember as well, with athletes, triathletes especially, they're kind of very health conscious usually, and they'll most of the time I think they'll try and choose healthy options. And I know when you first started working with us, you said, "Well, look at your diet and see how it goes." And I like bringing up stories when I used to be an athlete because it makes me feel like I was once an athlete. But I remember, I was sat there, and the feedback from you was actually I was eating loads of kind of all the greens and getting all my vitamins in there, minerals, and I think you'll tell me it's the wrong around or something, but you said you were toxic on vitamin D, but you weren't concerned about that because there was toxic levels of zinc, which inhibits B, or whichever way around that is, and it was something along those lines because I was trying to be almost too healthy, and actually the feedback was you just need to still get a bit more fuel in there. Yeah. So even that base level diet. It wasn't, the vitamins were quite, as you said, but I totally remember that conversation. I went to a diet analysis on your diet, and yet you were being too over healthy. And again, I see this with a lot of triathletes, and I don't mean to, we'll talk about gender later on in the month, but I don't mean to be sexist about this, particularly women that originally I had to get them over their carb phobia and embrace the carb but it's about putting it in the right amount in of the right type at the right time, because then it's going to be used. Yeah. I won't take a slight about the fact you said I was more of a female athlete in terms of the way. No, I do see that in men as well, but I see it in more extremes in female athletes. Because, and I think a lot of that comes down to every time we open our computer or open a magazine or something, that is lots of messages there that always need carbohydrates, so I'm going off on a different track now. The majority of the UK do eat too much carbohydrate. It's a huge public health problem we have in the UK, but triathletes training twice a day should not be listening to those general guidelines on health. Yeah, that's for sedentary people. For sure. So I guess the last point on those sort of dietary thing is, people have their food, and triathletes especially, they'd rather go to the physio and do the physio exercises because they've done something about it rather than actually doing something about it. they'd rather get the massage than roll the stuff out themselves. So supplements that have come out to the forte, I can't remember what. Asker, you can drink. Apologies, Asker, for your name being said probably correctly.
I pronounce his name, but huge respect for him, though.
But he was
nutritional science.
But he was talking about something in November at Training Peaks Endurance Coaching Summit about, we're doing about 3 or 4 different supplements which he felt had any sort of branding. But yeah, I mean, triathletes reach for supplements all the time, so kind of how should they be sort of guided through that, I guess, marketing opportunity again?
First of all, everyone should be supplementing with vitamin D. That's Public Health England, and we know that athletes need use more vitamin D.
Or go to one of the training camp to try training hardest camps in Portugal.
Exactly.
In the winter time.
Yeah.
Well.
So no, you wouldn't make it in the winter. Vitamin D in the winter in Portugal. Anyway, it's to do with the angle of the sun, factor.
We have to change our location.
Only make vitamin D when your shadow is the same height or shorter than you.
Okay.
So in the UK, I have to check Portugal, but in the UK, we don't make synthesised vitamin D between October through to the next March. Anyway.
There's other reasons to come on a training camp.
Lots of other reasons. But in summer, you get lots of vitamin D there, which is fat soluble, so it makes you restore it. So vitamin D, everyone should be supplementing with. They're on, so we can categorise supplements into 2 groups really. It's the sports supplements, such as the branched chain amino acids, the buffers, etc. The scientist we're talking about, produces a wonderful graph that I actually use a lot in presentations. It's a triangle showing base diet, sports nutrition, and then the tiniest bit on top being supplements, very much making the point that look at supplement. The supplements can make the smallest amount of difference compared to your base diet and your sports nutrition. If you're on top of everything else and you're looking for that next extra fast couple of minutes, if you're just looking to push it a bit more, that's when you start bringing in the supplements. But there's much bigger changes that you can use, that you can make through your diet rather than supplements. There definitely are places for it. I know some of the Try Training Harder race athletes that I've worked with in the past, they have some quite heavy training schedules, and especially in the base phase, for example, we would sometimes use HMB to prevent muscle breakdown. But it's not a case of just taking lots and expecting magic. It's about working out whether it's useful for what we're specifically looking to achieve at that moment. The other issue on those as well, not all of them are proven to actually work in people. There's lots of, that should work because that's how the human body works, but when you actually put it in a person, it's often not as effective. And the important thing as well is that so while each supplement would have been tested individually, most would have been, it's not tested when you put all these supplements together. So we don't know how they react. A lot of them, we don't know how they react together. So if you're making up your own cocktail, we don't know actually whether any of them interact with each other. So that's the actual sports supplements. But then when we look at vitamin, multivitamins and minerals, as I've been talking about all the last however minutes, that I'd be very much encouraging people to get their nutrients through their diet. But the base case is that people need these vitamins and minerals. So if you're not going to get them through your diet, you do have to think about supplementing. But it's not a case of, well, if that's good for me, I'll take lots of it because we can cause toxicity. And I think the best example there is with iron. It is quite likely that females training intensely will need an iron supplement because it's really hard as it is for women to get enough iron into their diet, add that extra training on which pushes up requirements. But toxicity levels of iron start quite low. So I would never put anyone on an iron supplement unless they've been iron tested. You can get that done for free at your doctor. And my understanding is Try Training Harder actually offers some blood tests.
We do work with fourth edge.
So
you can speak to your coach and get one, or speak to yourself and get something. So
so before putting in something like an iron supplement, it's importantly, you know where your iron levels are, and then you decide how much you need supplemented, if at all.
So, I mean, I guess with a lot of female athletes and friends of mine who train, they would talk about just taking an iron supplement anyway, because I know I'll probably need one. And actually, that's not the right.
No.
There's a strong chance that they would,
Yes.
but they need to be quite careful that they are actually taking the right dose, because it might be that they actually need a lot more,
Yeah.
or even need a lot
Yeah,
less.
exactly.
So it's not just about taking that, because that's what everyone else does. I guess with supplements, you also have issues around top sportsmen are using it, and that's an advertising opportunity, and bam, you're in.
Yeah.
So and so is using it, so I have to. If they're a top athlete, they probably have the base level diet, and then that pyramid comes back and you get everything else in place, so it will make a big difference.
Yeah.
Or a measurable difference to someone like that, whereas actually, if you're taking on board too much protein and not enough throughout the whole day, or too much protein in one dose but not enough through the day, then actually you've got work to do there before you go anywhere else.
Yeah.
So, what would you say is a common mistake? We covered a couple of spades, but would you say the common mistake that you see with triathletes in their day-to-day diet?
Firstly, I'd say not knowing how many calories, how much energy they need in a day. So, while I don't like to encourage people to become over-obsessed with calories, a triathlete does need to know how much energy they're using in a day, so they can put it in at the right time. What I commonly see when I first start working with triathletes is that they've under-eaten before training, so haven't got the most out of that training session, but then are so hungry the rest of the day, they then overeat the rest of the day. So it's, if one knows how much energy they're going to use in their training sessions, you can put it in at the right time.
First thing you said was triathlon training and nutrition planning rather than just one or the other. So getting that right from the beginning.
Exactly. I think the other thing that we've talked about quite a lot is that there's no focus on protein and not enough focus on carbohydrate. I think they're really the two main things. And again, when I say to an athlete, what are you doing this training session? I haven't got a clue.
So ask your coach what you do in training sessions.
Exactly.
Key message.
And I know
harass the coach as much as you can do.
And I know try training, I can say that confidently, so I know try training harder coaches would always know exactly why they're putting in a training session into a plan, whereas I don't think that is always the case. So.
Okay, interesting. Well, I'm trying harder coaches. So we've spoken a lot about quantity, we actually touched on timing a little bit with protein, but how important is the timing of when you're taking your nutrition? Because we're talking there daily doses, previously with weekly as well, but that's not that discrete from timing. How does that?
So again, I don't think this is what you're referring to, but I'll move on to what I do think you're referring to in a second, but it all depends what we're talking about. So for example, as I mentioned, B vitamins were water soluble, so the timing of those is every day. Whereas fat soluble vitamins, as long as you're having enough, the average right amount over a few days, you're going to be there or thereabouts. So if we're talking about vitamins, water soluble vitamins, B and C, that does need to be daily. When we actually talk about carbohydrate, there is an issue of building up your glycogen stock because you don't want to be taking on more than you can put into storage in an hour, because then some will be turned to fat, and then we have high blood sugar levels that aren't good for well-being. So what I tend to do is I start building people up gradually through the day, but then that eating around training and during training is actually really, really important. So that we can put carbohydrates in just beforehand to be used during the training session, depending on the length of the training session, some during. But then we have this metabolism 2-hour window, which I'm sure everyone's heard about, immediately after training, where we can absorb nutrients more efficiently. So that's why we want a fast release protein there to go into the muscles. But also, it's a good opportunity that if you're training again within 24 hours, which most triathletes are, you really need to use that window to start filling up your glycogen stores again. And why that's a particularly important window is when we're at, normally the transporters are just on the cytoplasm within the muscle, but transporters translocate when we're exercising, and actually new ones get made as well because it's so desperate to transport the glucose. And it takes about 2 hours for them to move back and for some of them to disappear. So it's a bit like immediately after training, you've suddenly got more buses that can put that glucose into storage to be prepared for your next training session. So yeah, time.
And you always need to get the buses back into the right starting point again. So I guess that's bringing me nicely into the next question, which is, should triathletes have breakfast?
Before
well, generally,
definitely.
yes. But I suppose before a training session.
Yes, I believe strongly that they should. I know there can be a debate around this. I feel very strongly they should be having breakfast. I know when you're doing a swim session at 5 in the morning, that isn't the easiest thing to do. From all the reading I do and my experience working with triathletes, what's actually going to make you perform best on race day is getting the most out of every single training session. That means fueling every single training session. So I would like the triathletes that I work with to be having something before that morning training session. I know that's difficult because it's early in the morning and the gut isn't always the most responsive, doesn't particularly want to be filled at that time. So I find using liquids much more, most athletes can generally cope with liquids, so a smoothie or something like, you go very low fat because you don't want to be training early with fat in the gut, so 0% yogurt, 0% milk, banana, honey and berries, I find is a really good, and one that I put in many plans for that, before that morning training session.
So breakfast is a definite. I guess if you say earlier as well that people are training multiple times within a 24-hour block, if you're doing a turbo session when you come straight back from work, let's just say you're on the turbo sort of 6, 7 o'clock-ish, you're doing an hour and a bit, maybe you might finish at 8:30, you're going to have to eat something there and then. But you're then still recovering from that session, so when you're going to do your swim, you're potentially glycogen deficient, not just from sleeping, but also from the fact that you've just done a session the day before. So breakfast becomes even more important.
Yeah, and potentially, even though generally I would say that you don't need fuel during a training session under an hour and a half, 2 hours. If you've trained the night before, you probably are going to need to put an energy drink in, or some squash, basically some sugar in during that training session, potentially, depending how much you've managed to recover between those two sessions.
Going back to the original point as well, triathletes will squeeze extra sessions in here and there. They'll be doing a morning swim session, let's just say, and then the next thing they'll do, they'll go and do a commute to work or something. And again, that's an easy way to fit in an extra half an hour of time or a 30-minute bike or something like that. But that's an hour and a half of waking time and training without having any fuel, being glycogen deficient or energy deficient full stop as well.
So what my concern there would be is that there isn't any, or if the glycogen runs out during the training session or it's not there in storage, you're going to, as well as using more fat, you'll also be using more protein, which potentially might mean that you're going to your muscles, taking a bit of your muscle and converting it into energy.
It's going to take longer to recover then.
Yeah, and also most triathletes work pretty hard to build that muscle. You don't want to be using it as an energy source.
No, definitely not. So one last question. Actually, I've got 2 questions, which would be nice. I think you mentioned gut bacteria. I think there's probably a whole host of talking points we can have around it, but I'd like to get a kind of a quick sort of view on sort of what you mentioned in your blog, which people should go read. But what's that all about?
Okay, I do have to be quick, but I could do a whole session just on this.
There is something
it
is
the most exciting bit of area of nutritional science at the moment. There's so much research going into it. We can now confidently say that gut bacteria basically controls the whole body. Balance of the gut bacteria we know can communicate with the brain through the vagus nerve. We also know that the gut bacteria can communicate with the immune system, which is probably the area that's most important for triathletes. It is very influential on the immune system, so again, to help prevent you pick up bugs, but also with inflammation. It's important we bring down inflammation in athletes for their recovery, and gut bacteria is extremely influential in that. So ways to, again, you can supplement, but generally unless there's an obvious gut bacteria imbalance, I would say go with food. Again, why the base diet's important. So ways of putting good bacteria in your gut is live yogurt. Again, makes a great recovery snack. Yeah. So live yogurt and then fermented foods and pickles, that type of thing, like miso soup and pickles. But then you need enough fibre in your diet to actually create the right environment for that bacteria to stay alive. So we need fibre in the diet as well.
That wasn't as much as you could do in about 30 seconds. I think we might revisit that actually, don't you? Because that sounds really interesting.
It is.
It's a new area of science as well, so it's always
and it's being very well researched. It's not one of these, fabby. It's very well researched. And, we need to take notice.
So finally, most triathletes are now sat in that sort of off-season thing. So they want to maybe relax, but they're also kind of worried about weight gain. So can triathletes indulge at this time of the season?
I think to some extent it's important they indulge because you're spending many months, triathletes are spending many months of their year on a very controlled diet. And there has to be some point where we're not so controlled in what we eat and we're not so prescribed in what we eat. I think it's an important time for athletes to start listening to their body because, as I say, I very much said you need a plan and you stick to that plan. But for well-being, what we should also be doing is listening to our body, telling us when to eat, when to stop eating, and that's quite an important time to get back in touch with that. It's shifting more to it, so while they can indulge and have some indulgence, you still got to think about well-being. So it is really still your basic well-being, healthy diet. And what you don't want to do is put on a load of weight before the season, which when they're coming back into full training, which is a point of high risk for getting injury because you're stepping your training levels up. What you don't want to be doing when you're stepping training up is reducing calories. So this is actually, while I do feel that there has to be a bit more relaxation around diet at some point of the year, people looking to do body composition change, this is actually the optimal time away from any intense training.
So almost for the athletes who work really hard, I mean it's the same as training. If you've done a hard training block, then you need to have this time to indulge away from training.
Yeah.
If that still means you want to do, Zwift rides online and stuff, great, enjoy it, have fun. But if you're in a position where actually there is work to do in the off season, you want to maybe lose some weight or anything, now is the time to be focusing on that because you don't have the stress of training.
Yeah, perfect time.
So you can indulge within reason depending what your goals are.
Yes.
Great. Going back to my previous athletic self, I feel that maybe I've done too much indulgence and need to get back into it. So we've got a few questions. There's one here which was from a guy called Gaz Try, and he's talking about struggling with post-training food. He has a pool session in the evening and has a recovery shake on the drive home by 7:45 and finish about 7:15. What she'd then look at as a meal to have post-training, post-recovery smoothie, given it's already quite late into the evening, so I guess it's getting home around about 8 o'clock-ish.
First of all, I'm really pleased that he does his recovery immediately at the pool. So that's good. Box ticked, that's good. So there all depends on the next training session is. I'm guessing he's quite likely to be training the next morning or within 24 hours. So again, it would depend whether it's a rest day the next day. But generally, I would say you still need to eat something, but go for something lighter. And obviously it's got to be something quick and simple after just doing an intense session. You're not then going to want to come home and spend hours cooking. The two things that I think make great evening after training snacks are eggs, just because
you can put them on to boil and then upstairs for a shower and come down and ready.
Yeah, or they to scramble, they take a little while, they don't take long. So something like scrambled eggs on whole grain toast and some spinach. One of the best foods ever created was frozen spinach because it keeps in your freezer. It's in little knobs. You can just chuck it in with your scrambled eggs. You've tipped your antioxidants vegetable box, mix it in with your scrambled eggs and some whole grain toast. I'd say I don't know anything about his weight or anything or height. Yeah. It would probably be 3 eggs, 3 toast. Might need a bit more than that, but that would be super quick. Or I've been talking about nuts, seeds. So he's done his recovery, so we're not so looking at this as so much a recovery meal. Just we're now looking at the general bean-based diet meal. So I know we think of it more as a breakfast food, but super quick would also be some oats with some yogurt, put some seeds in there and some berries. Or you could keep overnight oats in your fridge, so it's all already done, which is basically mixing them up in advance.
Yeah.
Same thing, just mixed in advance. So it's ready when you come home.
I guess there's also cooking batch cooking the weekend. You've got some time, then you've got a few ready meals you can whack in the microwave. I totally agree with that. I think batch cooking for athletes is really, really important, so they have those ready-made, healthy, ready-made meals. Just don't want to go too heavy immediately before bed. It's interesting we're talking more about the practicalities of the nutrition rather than what people need to be eating. Well, there's obviously that as well, but there's a big emphasis on how can I get logistics to get me the right food at the right time.
I don't need to tell you, triathletes are busy people.
They are very busy.
Right, heavy training schedules for them, they don't have much time.
I'm trying back with mine as well half the time. So we got a really interesting message from Richard Olds, who read your book earlier, and said it's a very interesting, informative article. If you haven't read it, go onto the website. It's also one of the, I think it's the most recent book that we have, or one of the most recent two. And he's saying it's great for the normal person, but what if a person is susceptible to pre-diabetes? Carbohydrate intake, whilst important for energy, has to be done correctly, otherwise blood sugars may rise and create imbalances in the liver, blood and pancreas, and energy will not be extracted into the blood and subsequently where it is needed into muscles. It would be great to receive advice on how to feel if you are type 2 diabetic.
Really, really important point. And everything that I've been saying today is for people without medical conditions, and we're not, just more that general population. But this is a really, really important point. For pre-diabetic and diabetics, we need to make sure that blood sugar levels aren't pushed too high, because it's not put into storage as efficiently and as fast. And we know high blood sugar levels for too long is damaging to health. So with this situation, it really is thinking about the carbohydrate intake, the type, the timing and the quantity. So very much outside of training, it's slow release complex carbohydrates so that you're gradually filling those glycogen stores up. Thinking about the quantity, so while I said packing a quarter of pasta earlier on, you're certainly not eating that all in one go. So it's having smaller portions. And I think with situations like this, it does become more, the actual training becomes more dependent on putting more carbs in during training, because we can't have filled up the glycogen stores as effectively
through the base diet.
Yeah, through the base diet. So it does become more dependent on putting basic pure sugar in during training, which I know to any diabetic will go to complete panic about that. But the difference is you're using it immediately. So you're having the gels and the drinks or the squash, but it's being converted into energy. It's not causing high blood sugar levels.
I guess that's where that conversation why am I doing this training session, what's the purpose behind it, is really, really important. Because if you're just thinking it's a really important high energy required session, and that's actually just a steady ride, then that's a totally different way of looking at it.
Put too much carb in, and the other way around, if you're on insulin and it turns out to be a much more intense session, you haven't put enough carbohydrate in, sugar in, you're going to go into hypoglycemia, which is obviously
not helpful.
And it's definitely not good for performance.
Point of view.
And I would certainly encourage anyone diabetic to be taking regular blood sugar tests through the day, so they themselves understand what their blood sugar levels are doing, and make sure their consultant is aware of the level of exercise training they're doing.
So we've got one more sort of serious question from Al, who's thinking about maybe plant-based diets and moving into more of a plant-based diet, and what are the implications for an endurance athlete?
There's a lot of discussion around a vegan diet. My view is that it won't hinder performance as long as you're on top of your vegan diet. I'll go into more of that in a second. I don't think a vegan diet, very much being promoted at the moment, is going to make you perform better. I think what it is, where we have seen performance improvements in people that have turned vegan, is that a traditional vegan diet, the base of it is all the nutrients I've been talking about today: nuts, seeds, whole grains, beans and pulses, green leafy vegetables. So the question is, if someone lived off burgers before, and suddenly they're putting all this nice beans and pulses and fresh veg in that are packed full of antioxidants, energy-creating nutrients, is that actually what's improving their performance? So if they were to have some nice oily fish and all that, you know, they don't have to go, potentially they don't have to go as extreme as being vegan to get those benefits. So then why would someone choose to a vegan plant-based diet? It's very much around sustainable ethics, and if they believe they don't want to be eating meat and fish, and around sustainability. We know we can't continue to eat as much meat as we do now. The world just can't provide that. And there is very much a push towards plant-based diets for those reasons. So that, if they're the reasons for it, totally support that. But the things you need to particularly look out for is B12 only comes from animal sources, so B12 has to be supplemented. B12 is particularly important for creating red blood cells, which obviously for oxygen, carrying oxygen around the body, and performance is really important. So B12 has to be supplemented in the vegan diet. The other nutrient we need to look particularly at is calcium. It's very hard to get your full dose calcium requirement without having dairy or fish with edible bones. But that is quite easy to replace through using milk alternatives because they're generally fortified. And then the other thing just to be a bit careful about is if you go back 20 years, plant-based diets with about beans and pulses, whereas you walk into a supermarket now, there's a whole aisle of processed plant-based food. When I've been looking at the back of some of these packets, it's very much encouraging people to have eat the same way if they were a meat eater. So have something that looks like meat and then the food with it. You need to start thinking differently, like a plant-based eater rather than a meat eater. And a lot of these products that are replacing the meat, when I read the back of them, a lot of them don't have a lot of protein in. It's corn and soya are different, and some of the new artificial meats are different, but a lot of the burgers and sausages that are made just from vegetables have only got about 2-3 grams of protein in compared to 100 grams of chicken that's got 32 grams of protein in. So vegans it's not that they can't get enough protein, they just got to make sure they're reading labels. And then the other area is protein immediately after training. If we're looking at getting 20 grams in, a vegan would probably have to go to a protein shake, whereas where I've been talking about very much about milk and yogurt, a plant-based diet would very much have to look at using a vegan protein recovery shake, or they're going to have to be sitting there eating immediately afterwards, not in a meal later, a tin of beans. And I don't think there's many people after the test. Yeah, in the shower rooms.
So I guess in summary, first of all, that's fascinating because I didn't know half of those things. But from a performance point of view, there isn't really a huge performance benefit to be had by turning plant-based.
I don't believe so.
It's looking more into that ethical or sustainability conversation, and making a decision based on those, which is fine. But you need to make sure you're able to supplement that decision with the nutrients your body needs to perform at a high level, which I know Alan will be wanting to do. So I think Chris Beck is going to be upset because he was asking about, we talked about this one earlier, about if it's good to train in race day conditions, and pizza is my favourite pre-race meal, does eating pizza count as training? And if so, why isn't Diogo setting it in my training peaks calendar? Well, if you're working with Helen, then she'll help you by setting some of the nutrition in your training peaks calendar. But
can't promise it's going to be pizza all the time. I completely agree with his point. You should be practicing your race nutrition in your training nutrition. It's not something you just pull out for race day. You need to have tried and tested it. Pizza is not the optimal pre-race meal. I know it's very common, and I can't remember which athlete it is. I think it's one of the Brownie brothers once said that he had pizza before a race, which is why it became really popular. What we're looking for before a race is high carbohydrate adequate protein and very low fat. You don't want fat sitting in your gut while you're racing. So you go for a non-cheese pizza, and I know one of the athletes that I work with, we did used to use a non-cheese pizza, but we don't want, certainly a 4-cheese pizza is not going to work. And
a meat feast probably wouldn't be the right choice either.
no, because it's going to be too high fat. So basically, it's a base of some tomato on it and maybe a bit of spinach. Which I don't think is a type of pizza.
So there you go, Chris. When you said pizza, you meant a base pizza with a little bit of red sauce and maybe some spinach, then you're more than welcome to have pizza. And Diogo, you should be setting that now in his training peaks calendar for his daily nutrition. Otherwise, we don't think it's worth thinking like that. Maybe you need to reassess why you put it down as your favourite pre-race meal, looking at the most effective pre-race meal instead. Which is good. And we've only got one more question, unless any more questions come in now, and that's just from Dougal, who said apparently potatoes are as good as gels. He was reading something.
You just got, yeah, there's lots of things. What gels provide is convenience, and they also might have some electrolytes in, so you don't need to take a separate electrolyte. The only, so yeah, basically we're just trying to get carbohydrate in. The only thing with potatoes is that you need to carry quite a few of them, so you need to storage, and they can be quite heavy, and higher in fibre. So any athlete that has any gut issues, which I think probably again we'll talk about later in the month, they might cause some gut issues. But yeah, it really is, there's so many ways of doing this. As I say, gels and energy drinks are there for convenience, and they're often the right mix of things. For example, high five are 60 grams, glucose 30 grams, fructose, so it's the right balance. But there's so many different ways of doing this, and generally because people's guts react differently to things, in plans I do write things very differently. And because if it depends whether you're a sprint triathlete or an Ironman as well, but there's quite a lot of this going in. So to me, basically, if I need to get this into someone, when it comes down to flavour, they can choose. So it's got to be something that to keep doing.
New potatoes versus jellies doesn't really matter. You can choose your potato, or gel or otherwise. It's about getting that fuel in the system. Going back to the pyramid, we've got the base in. That's working really well. Now we're talking about sports nutrition, and that's what we make sure that the fuel is on top of it. Helen, I think that's it from your questions. No more questions in there. Thank you very much for your time. Just a reminder, if you are watching, and definitely if you're one of our coached athletes, you can sign up for additional nutritional support through Helen, and she'll help you by looking at your training plan or our training plan, which we put together as athlete and coach, and then apply her approach on nutrition, depending on how much influence and input you want from Helen. She'll make sure that you've got a nutrition plan to sit alongside that training plan, and potentially gives probably the most useful thing is thinking about how can I get the fuel in, those sort of practicalities around it. I know a lot of athletes I've spoken with, having worked with you, it's all about how I can find the ways of getting it in, and sneaking extra nutrition or smoothies or stuff around, and making the timing work better for you. So yeah, you get that on the website, and look at that. Otherwise, by all means, check out Helen for more nutritional advice, or sign up for a plan with her as well separately if you're not with Try Training Harder. But otherwise, thank you very much for your time. And next